Maria-Elena, welcome to the cave.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
Elias.
Elias.
Very
Yes,
good. Thank
Elias
you.
in
Elias.
Spanish. Yes, that's
That
right.
was my
That's right.
grandfather's name.
Really? Yeah, it's a
Yes.
it's a pop. I'm from Greece. Well, from my family's from Greece, so it's a popular name in
Oh,
Greece.
that's sweet.
Yeah.
I
How's
like it a
everything
lot.
with you?
Excellent.
Thank you for joining me. Like I said,
Thank you.
how's life treating you these days?
Life is interesting. Life is, you know how life continues even though most of us are in the quietest time
Right.
because of COVID. It
Yeah.
still has a way of coming up, right? But yeah, it's been interesting. I'm currently in Houston, which I got here back in March, thinking I was only going to be here for a couple weeks, and now
Wow.
I'm still here.
You
So,
you've been filming there? Is that what it is?
no, COVID. My parents are here, and then
Okay.
I ended up getting married. So
Oh
all
wow!
that
Congratulations.
all that happened this past year. Yeah, thank
Congrats.
you.
Wow. Wow. So yeah, I mean the listeners and the viewers, they know you for recently from The Warrior as Rosalita. You've done
Mhm.
Vida. You've been busy the
Yeah.
last few years.
Yes, I have.
Huh,
That's good.
yeah,
That's good in our business because there are years when you're not and others when you are. So that's for us
yeah.
lifers. Yeah.
That's,
The
so
up and down.
be, before we dive into some of your projects, I want to know like how did you fall in love with acting?
Mhm.
What made you pursue it?
Oh, okay. Well, I knew it from a really I knew it from a really young age. So from gosh, when I was about 6 years old, I mean, I was doing every school play and everything, but I
Yeah.
walked into a black box theater and I was so mesmerized. And for whatever reason, I had decided that was my home and I just wanted to be there. And it's something that I was so clear about always from when I was small. You can ask my parents, it's what I always wanted to be when I grew up. And I started professionally at 13. So it's just always been there for me.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
when I was doing some research, I noticed that
Oh,
you grew up in Saudi Arabia and Japan also. Like, tell us a little bit
yes.
about that.
Yeah, well, I'm from Puerto Rico, born in Puerto Rico, raised in Saudi Arabia and Japan. I went to, um, God, you know what? Can you hear that vacuum cleaner in the back? I hope not. I just want to make sure you don't hear the vacuum cleaner. Anyway, yeah, so I grew up in Saudi Arabia and Japan, and it was obviously very, very different and very interesting. In Saudi Arabia, we didn't a lot of Westerners who live in Saudi Arabia live in these camps that are basically um, just uh, away from the locals, and
Yeah.
inside those compounds you can women can wear shorts, women can drive, you can drink all this stuff. And but that wasn't our case. We lived out with the Saudis, so we had the same rules. And I started covering myself when I was 11. And uh, and it was a completely different reality. We had a little bit dangerous walking around as a girl. And there's it's it's a very, very strict country. So prayer time 5 times a day, so everything was shut down. If you're in the
Yeah.
supermarket and you're grabbing stuff, then they turn off the lights and you have to leave the cart where it is, and for prayer time before you come back in. And it was I for me, I loved it just because I was part of the international community. Everything revolved around the school because our mothers didn't work, only our dads did because they couldn't. And so it was sort of like a fun little. I akin it to like It's a Small World at Disneyland, right?
Right.
Where you have people from all these different countries, and then every week at school there were different festivities, which is really nice. Maybe somebody was different types of food, or in school festivals, and celebrating holidays from different cultures. So there are things about it that I really loved. Even though we were in a very strict country with not
Yeah.
much to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, how did you end up there, by the way? What did your father do for work?
Oh, my father's in the oil business, so he's a
Okay.
petrochemical engineer. Yeah.
Oh wow. Is that how you ended up in Japan also? Was it business you went
Also,
there?
yeah. So he was the first time we were in Japan is when I was 5,
Okay.
and for kindergarten, and then we came back when I was in middle school. And so yeah, it was different projects, right, that
Yeah.
led him back and forth. And so and of course Japan is a completely different
Right,
thing.
right.
At at 13 I had a midnight curfew. It was the safest place ever, and just absolutely wonderful, and so fun, and definitely one of the highlights. But yeah, just a lot of, and then of course we would, my mom's family, and where I'm from, in Puerto Rico, so we would always spend the summers there. And then my dad's family is in Texas, so we would usually be Christmas time, and so
Wow.
got all sorts of moving around. Yeah.
So after like you graduated high school and you knew
Uh-huh.
this was going to be your plan, what was the
Right,
next
right.
step? And what was like your like parents' reaction also? They're like, I'm going to get into acting. This is what I want to do.
I think, I think, I think my parents were a little different. My dad would have preferred that I have nothing to do with it, and he just couldn't really, see how someone could make a career out of it. And also
Yeah.
something where I came to LA not knowing anybody. Right, I actually moved
Yeah.
with my parents because my dad got transferred for his job, and so I went with him, and my mom, and so for him it just seemed really daunting that I would even try something like this without knowing anybody, and
Right.
and everything. And then my mom, I think, she's always gotten a kick out of it and thought it was kind of fun, and wanted to sort of feedback and see what's going on, and very helpful and very supportive in that way. But I was very lucky. I got to LA, and I lived in this place called, it was called Oakwood at the times. I'm not sure what it's called now. But it's right next to Warner Brothers Studios, and it's a place where it was very popular with people who come in for pilot season, and you would see kids and the kids managers,
Right.
and it was a very LA place. And so that was where we lived. And sure enough, I met someone down the hall who was in his 80s, although he wouldn't admit to it. So I think he said he was probably in his late 60s at the time. That was an old, was a retired musical theater producer that had worked with all these greats, with Fred Astaire, and with
Yeah.
he did like lots of people, right? And he's the one who actually introduced me to his son, who was an acting teacher, and said, "Oh, that's what you're going to do, and you're interested." I'm like, "Yeah." And so I quickly just kind of figured it out, and went to got myself a commercial agent, booked my very first audition, which
Wow.
interestingly enough was a union commercial.
Okay.
I was told to lie and say that I was SAG eligible, even though I wasn't at all. And so they didn't figure that out until we were 3 hours outside of LA on location, and they were doing my paperwork from a trailer, and realized that I wasn't actually SAG. But it got me into the union. And so yeah, and from there it was beginner's luck also, because it was my very first commercial audition.
Wow.
So I kind of didn't necessarily know what I was doing. And I actually, that audition, this is how much I didn't know what I was doing. So the first audition, it said something about that I'm a construction worker. So I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, here I am. I'm not even still a teenager. Like you know what I mean? And as a construction worker, so I go there, and then I get the call back, and it says that you are a casual, like, and I thought, oh my gosh, how can I be more casual than I was as a construction worker? So I went in there with greasy hair. I looked absolutely awful. I had a stained shirt, all baggy. I tried to look as bad as I could possibly look, and it was for Ford Mustang commercial. And they had us audition, and they had two of us in the car, like we're in a road trip, these two girls, and we're having fun and whatever. And then they brought, and they said, okay, so everybody, or both of you guys are on a road trip. Okay. So she starts on her thing, and I just went immediately, and I went, right, like I'm smoking a joint. And I just acted as if I was stoned the whole
Wow.
thing. I was like, yeah, dude, whatever. And I leave the room, and this girl gets so angry with me. And she said, that was so unprofessional. You can't
Wow.
do that. The drugs are, no
Yeah.
reference to drugs, and audition, whatever. And I was mortified. I was so embarrassed. But they gave me the commercial. And of
Oh wow.
course, I didn't look, they dressed me up and put makeup on me. So it was just, the whole thing was kind of a funny way of starting my journey in LA
Wow.
and
That's a great
starting
story
my
to tell
career.
people at the
So
beginning. Yeah.
this
So when you
is
so when
what
you
you
were
don't know. Uh-huh.
so when you were doing like the acting lessons and you had your commercial, how many more commercials did you do after that?
Oh gosh. Easily at least like 150 or
Wow.
so. I've done a lot of commercials. That has been my bread and butter. There's some people where I've done a chunk of, like Applebee's. I did as a waitress. I did, I think, maybe like 12 or 13. But so
Yeah.
so I did get some repeat clients also with Old Navy and Garnier. So that was, but yeah, I've been doing it. I've done a lot of those.
Yeah.
A lot of those,
No, because
and they've
I've
been
had,
fun. Some of them are like little movies. I did one with George
yeah,
Clooney. It was the very first Nespresso ad that was ever done, and it was a minute long, and it was like a little film. It was
yeah.
fun.
Like I've had previous guests before. They're like, I
Uh-huh.
love doing commercials because they're like,
Yep.
because what if I have a 6 month period of no work? I can go do
Exactly.
a commercial or two and wait for the next project to come up.
That's the thing is, I mean, that obviously it's not the dream. It's not like
Right, right.
you came in order to do commercials, but I'm so grateful to them. They are, they're my side job. They're my hustle, right? And
Yeah.
so I've never. There are only a couple of types of commercials that I wouldn't do just because I'm personally against it. Like I wouldn't do pharmaceuticals. I'm just, that's something that I'm not. You know, I love that there are all those disclaimers at the end, but that doesn't feel right to me. But in general, I'm pretty good. And even products that I wouldn't necessarily
Use.
go you use
Yeah.
or visit or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't mind because there are other people that it serves a purpose and they like it. So
Right.
I try to look at the bigger picture in these things.
Mm. So while you're doing these commercials and you're auditioning for like TV shows, like what was like one of your
Mm.
like, first gigs or movies that you got?
Well, one of the first movies I did was The Hot Chick, which was super fun. It was the one with Rob Schneider where he switches
Right.
body,
Yeah.
and I played his nemesis or her nemesis, like the bad person, right, from the other high school,
Yeah.
the cheerleader from the other high school, and that was, for me, that was really awesome. But what happened is, because my first audition I booked and I went to got into the union and I was still young, I
Yeah.
had I went straight into the big leagues. So I was competing with all these people that had been working since they were 10, 15
Yeah.
years old and had resumes. And and I was still green with some of my auditioning and figuring things out. So when I would book work, it was really exciting to me, but I would still be very nervous. And I remember when I did The Hot Chick, we went to cheer camp. We had to learn how to for cheerleading, and it was for a couple months and it was pretty hardcore. And when the time came to film, I'm supposed to be the team captain of the state champions, right? And so I have to pull things off, and they didn't give us stunt doubles, which is really odd because I get stunt doubles for like the most random things. The Hot Chick, they gave me a stunt double for the headbutt that I didn't need because I did it in one take. But there were, but for cheer, we didn't have any stunt doubles, so we were learning how to do these jumps and
Right.
flip, and all that. And so when it came time to film, I remember feeling really overwhelmed, like I was in over my head. And what am I doing? It was that's one of the times I got the imposter syndrome. Like, I don't even belong here. What's happening? We were filming, and at the time it was still on film, so it cost a lot of money. Every second, every frame cost a lot of money, and they were using a couple of cameras, and we were in this stadium, and they had a few hundred extras, plus they had hundreds of cutout people, and the cutout people look like real people, right? And then on the floor with us for this cheerleading competition, they had gotten real high school cheer teams. So here are these girls on the sides doing their warm-ups and stretches
Yeah.
and giving me the stink eye. I'm like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be the best one here from every. And it was so, I was so nervous. The whole thing really freaked me out. I look at it and thank goodness I was able to cover that. But on the inside, I just like wanted that very long day to be over. I was so
Wow.
scared.
How long
Yeah.
did it take you to like learn the moves for that? Do you remember?
Well, the cheer camp, it was a couple months. I
Oh
mean,
wow.
oh yes, we were
Yeah.
working hard. Yeah.
Did you like when you said you felt like you couldn't wait for it to end? Did you like start having thoughts? Okay, like if I'm not gonna do this, what's next for me in life? Or
No. Meaning when I was filming, I couldn't wait for it to end because I was so nervous
okay,
that I was gonna mess up, that I was gonna
yeah.
fall over, that I was gonna ruin everything, that I was maybe I was ruining things.
Yeah.
It was just that. It was
Oh
just
wow.
the negative self-talk.
Yeah. Yeah. But
That fun thing.
you got
Yeah.
through it, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
So throughout your career, like you've done multiple projects, and what's been like your favorite?
My favorite. They're all, I mean, everything's quite different.
Yeah.
That's what's so awesome about this business and this industry is you get to live all these lives and be in all these different situations and I mean, I would like to talk about Warrior though, because Warrior is
Oh
so
yeah, that's
freaking amazing. And that in a way is, gosh, maybe that is my favorite because it was all encompassing. It wasn't just I'm in for, 12, 14 hours, or I'm in for a few days and then,
yeah.
in and out. This was a 5 month process that was just incredible. I felt like I was walking on air the whole time. It was everything about it was
Yeah.
wonderful. So it was like 5 incredible months.
Wow. All right, let's jump into the Warrior. Like
All
for like
right.
this for this show, obviously the listeners, the viewers, it first started off on Cinemax, now it's on HBO
Right.
Max streaming. Also, you joined season 2. Like, did you think that this show become like such a cult like phenomenal? Like people
Well, the
are
thing,
crazy about this show.
they are crazy. It's awesome. I when I joined the second season and we started filming, like it hadn't aired yet,
Right.
so no one had seen it. We were the only ones who saw it. With the audition process, like after I got it, they sent me the first 8 episodes, and then everybody, all of us, when we got to Cape Town, we watched 9 and 10 together. And so we didn't we didn't know. We looked at it and everybody's like, okay, well, we're proud of but we weren't sure what was going to happen yet, if the audience
Yeah.
was going to connect to it or not. Now, I'm not surprised that there is this cult following. I am a little surprised it didn't happen sooner, only because it has all the ingredients. The Bruce Lee legacy, the amount of precision that's put into it in the fights with
Yeah.
our incredible stunt coordinator Brett, and the heart and the love put into it. It has all the ingredients to touch people and to become something that
Yeah.
has a cult following for sure. So I think at the end of the day, had it been on HBO Max or HBO to begin with, of course it would have it would have blown up sooner. So Cinemax was just sort of like a little almost like a stepping stone in a
Right.
way, because I not that many people, even in my life, there weren't that many people that were keen on subscribing to Cinemax for a couple months just to watch it. They're like, no, we're gonna wait
Yeah.
until HBO Max.
Was this when you was this a self tape for Rosalita, or was it a live audition?
Oh, it was a self tape. I actually was really surprised by how it went down because it was it was only one self tape, and then
Wow.
I got a call. It was like 7 in the morning. My manager said, "Hey, are you up? The creator of the show wants to Skype with you in 30 minutes." I was like, "What show? What audition? What are you talking about?" And then he told me. I was like, "Oh no!" So I not only did I need to get dressed, but also I had to look at my lines really quick because I didn't know if I needed to know them,
Yeah.
and I had I think 10 auditions since then, and so I they were no longer in there memorized, and so I panicked. I only had time to put on a shirt, which nowadays that's what people do, but
Right.
back then 2 years ago, you know, um, it wasn't the norm. And I got on the phone with him, and it lasted maybe 5 minutes at the most. He asked me a couple questions. He's like, "Hey, so what's up?" Da, da, da. And he's like, "Okay, so it's 5 months. It's he just told me a couple things, very basic things about the show, and then he's like, "Okay, all right, we're good. I just want to make sure you weren't an asshole." And that was it. I'm like, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And so I mean, and then at that point it all happened fast because it was
Uh,
over Christmas break, so I had to quickly, figure out housing in Cape Town, go there in
so
January.
so when you first auditioned on self tape, you only get the lines. When you read the script after
Ah,
you got the part, like what was your reaction when you were reading about like your role and how you're gonna play this character?
right. Well, the thing is that we would only get sort of a couple of
Yeah,
episodes at a
right.
time, right?
Yeah,
So I wasn't sure yet. I mean, I knew that something was going to happen to Rosalita, something bad,
yeah,
in episode 6, but I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know her backstory. I didn't know. I had created my own. And the thing about the audition too is that they in my mind, I thought she was going to be super tomboy. So, I thought it was, hair back, no makeup, wearing only pants. And so that's the way that I approached the character. And I
yeah,
also deepened my voice and just made her just like, because she's a woman in a man's world. I'm like, okay, well, then she's like manning her up in a way, right?
yeah,
And so when I got there and I saw that she wears all this jewelry and these incredible dresses and corsets and has this hair and fabulous makeup and all this, I was like, oh, whoa, okay. Okay. Well, that means I'm gonna need to bring some sexy into it because that's not how I had envisioned her, right?
mm,
So that definitely helped me in the preparation of Rosalita of Vega, and also in the voice, because there's a voice teacher, and I've actually worked on my voice for many years, just because it's something that I learned that as a woman, if you want to age well in this business, and if you look at a lot of women who are leads on series, they have strong voices. And so and mine, when I was 20, 25, used to be, it was really high pitched girly sort of a voice. And so I've been doing voice work consistently for 10 years. I consistently. So I had my coach do a warm up for me and record it for me. And so I would do, I'm sure I sound crazy in my trailer because it's like, it's, all these crazy sounds. And, and so that for me too was really important as far as grounding her in a man's world where she would be taken seriously by them. So that was, yeah, that was pretty much. And then, like I said, I had my own sort of backstory
yeah,
and
yeah.
everything. And we did a lot of training, insane training, which was awesome. It was 5 days a week, and it was with the stunt team, and there are lots of them. And these guys are hardcore, and some of these are martial artists. They've been doing it since they were little kids. So keeping up with them was not easy, but it was so fun learning sort of foundations and taekwondo and jujitsu, and so I was learning all these things, and it wasn't until about 2 weeks before we shot episode 6. They're like, actually, her thing is guns. I was like, uh-oh. So quickly I had to, really learn my
Right.
way around this very heavy 6 shooter, right? And so, and make it feel comfortable, and it's really important that she know her guns really well, because she had this whole. Have you watched it, by the way?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm behind
Okay,
a couple
good.
episodes, but I have watched it. Yes. I actually have
Okay,
some
good.
questions down. Yeah.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
because I was like, I don't want to spoil things, and
No, no, no,
you
no, no.
might be like, where is she going with this?
No, no, no,
But
no.
yes, anyway, knowing the guns is really, really important.
Yeah. So like, so how would you like if I
Uh,
had to just if I had to describe your character, I would say like,
right.
badass. Like,
Yes.
how would you describe her?
Well, you know what? I knew you were going to ask this question because I listened to a couple of your other interviews, and you always ask people this question.
Yeah.
So what I did is I actually wrote down, just so you can the
That's awesome.
breakdown, so you
Yeah.
so you can compare with what I did. Tell me
Yeah.
if I did it right. Okay. So Rosalita Vega, 30s, female, to play Mexican with an American accent. She runs a fight club in the Barbary Coast, a very savvy businesswoman working in a man's world. She's strong, intelligent, insightful, and independent. And while cool, tough, and in control, there's a real humanity to her. Someone we will begin to really feel for. Comfortable with nudity and simulated sex, as there will be sex scenes with the lead character. So
it's a good way to
yeah.
describe it. That's awesome that you went back and looked up some of my interviews just to get an idea of.
Well, I know
you're
a couple people
and
you've
you're
interviewed,
comfortable.
so
Yeah. Who? What did you say? You knew some people that I interviewed?
Yeah, I know. A couple of
That's
my friends
awesome.
like Jesse Garcia, Karen
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, like with this character, you know, like you said, you had some input on there. Like, what was some of the input that you put into the character?
That I put into it?
Yeah.
The thing is, it's you know, there's the actual backstory, right? So what happens in episode 6 is not something that I knew until a couple weeks prior. So I had my own, and as far as bringing sexuality, that's something that I chose to bring, which wasn't there at my audition because it's not something that I thought. But once again, I saw the costumes and makeup and everything, I thought it was important to do. And it's just she's a mystery for the first few episodes, and so it was important to keep that mystery, if that makes sense. So that you would know later why she was the way she was, because there's something about her that is very distracted, but also, you know, has this tough front, but is very lonely. And I feel there was one episode where you finally got to see that, and that one for me was really important, because that's when Assam asks her, or when she asks him to stay and have a drink with her. And then he says, no, you know, I'm sure you got plenty of options. And it's the first time where you see her break but defensive, of course, vulnerable and defensive of, no, actually, you don't know me. And that was sort of the beginning, I think, of getting to know Vega more, and that she has hurt, she has a lot of pain, she's very lonely, and she's fronting.
Yeah. Did you have any challenges like playing this character? Was there any times where like, how am I going to play a certain scene with this character?
Well, for me, the biggest challenge actually was in there's a scene where everything just goes haywire, and we had episode 6 was filmed at the very end of the season. So at this point, a lot of people had gone home, like the rest of the cast is still not in that episode, and there was a crunch with time and budget and all of this, and so everything was moving really fast, and we didn't have enough time, and some, you know, there have been injuries, and so we didn't have the time to choreograph some of the stunts, some of the fights, and so we literally had minutes where they're like, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. It's like, what? Now, it's a testament to the guys, because they've been doing it for a long time, and they've been training in their own life, martial arts, for a long time. They were able to pick up the choreography really fast and get it. And it's also really important that we could only do these things in a few takes, because there's glass is breaking, and you only have a few things that you can use that will break, right? And so the fact that with all the adrenaline pumping that we were able to do it, for me it was a challenge. I was really afraid I wasn't going to be able to rise to the occasion, because I had a few minutes to figure out, okay, I get punched, and then I go this, and I go there, and then I flip over, and then I land, and then I boom, and it was just like boom, and then you do this, and then you kick, and then it was just all like, oh my God, if I don't remember any of this, and then the stunt guys around us, and so we didn't use stunt people, right? But for our stunts, we didn't have time. So it was the other fighters, the other people, our stunt guys, and so they were incredible with all of us. They're like, we got you. We'll remind you in the moment if you got to do this, because it's just like one long shot for the most part. So there wasn't the room to mess up. So for me, that was the most challenging scene by far. the gun scene too was a little challenging because I was afraid how I was going to do this really fast, load it, lock load it and shoot him quickly without anyone realizing what was going on. But those are scenes. Sometimes what happens is these scenes that you're so challenged by that they're not necessarily your favorite to do because they're so technical and nerve-wracking, and are the ones that when you see on screen, like, that's my favorite. That's so awesome. I
Yeah,
did that. No way. How did So when you say favorite scene, it's like, okay, favorite to do or favorite to watch?
both, I guess. But like, how's your
Exactly.
adrenaline when you're doing that? Like, how's your adrenaline where you've done it came out good, everybody's like excited on set. Like, how do you feel?
It feels good, but you don't have time to like
Do you
revel
think?
in that.
Yeah,
No, you don't have time because like, okay, next you got to go. Okay, come on.
yeah,
It's almost like it doesn't hit you till later on, and usually, and I've noticed this in this business in general,
yeah.
is that if you're doing things well, the way is it moves fast and they move on.
Mm,
But a lot of times they won't give that positive feedback.
yeah.
And if it's not going well, then they'll come and they'll, direct and say, can you try this and that? So you can't live with or be dependent on that positive feedback. That's
Mm.
something that you've got to be comfortable in your own skin and confident enough in your abilities and what you're doing to be okay without getting that.
Yeah. Now you had a lot of scenes with Andrew. Like, how would you describe the chemistry between you two?
Andrew is an amazing, amazing person. He's one of the few actors I've worked with that is so, 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 so focused to the point and living the life of the character to the point that he could hurt himself. He's watching every calorie, he's stressing himself out. He's he's a perfectionist and he's very inspiring to work with
Yeah,
because of that, which is like really inspiring to work with. And as a person, when he relaxes, and he's not, focused on that. He's hilarious, so witty, really funny, like with his,
yeah,
and he was awesome. It felt comfortable. I mean, look, we have a sex scene which felt totally easy and comfortable, no weirdness, no awkwardness,
yeah.
and it's a lot of how he is as a person, how open and giving he is as an artist. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was awesome. I sometimes I wish that the show had given Vega and Assam a little bit more time that wasn't so business and
Yeah,
money exchange oriented, so that you could see their bond because they have so much in common, and they're both these outsiders away from home and just trying to survive and figure out what to do, and so and lonely really at the end of the day. So that's something that I kind of wish that the audience could have gotten a little more of before her backstory came to play.
yeah. Maybe we need a Rosalita spin-off or a prequel. What do you think?
That would be very interesting. I'm sure that would be quite colorful too.
Yeah. So, any word on season 3? Have you heard anything about season 3 yet?
No,
Or
you know what? It's no. I mean, everybody is wanting it so bad,
yeah,
and it's just sort of in the stalemate, and it's the corporate reshuffling, and then HBO, even though HBO was the mother company, right?
yeah,
So all of our contracts and all of our communication was with HBO, but Cinemax is now over, and HBO's got too many productions that they're paying, and so I think it's a matter of drumming up fans
right,
and just
yeah,
getting them to
mm,
demand it. But everyone's still in this holding
right,
period. They've let go, unfortunately, like the studio in Cape Town, they broke down sets, and costumes are gone, and all the stuff is gone, and everyone's schedules, they've taken on different projects,
right,
but it it's that never means that it can't
Oh,
be recreated.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So what's next for you? I know you said you've been in Houston since March. Like you've
Oh yeah.
been working. Any other
Yeah,
projects you've been doing over there, or like
over here.
or
Well,
auditioning, self
audition.
tapes?
Oh yes, a lot of self tapes and auditioning. I've been uh, a couple of things that then were like canceled. I've got I'm attached to three different projects that are in development, pitching.
Yeah,
What we call development hell. Two of them we have shot some stuff for. One of them we've been doing table reads for. So hopefully one of those will stick pretty soon because they're actively pitching and getting good uh, promises by some people.
yeah.
So that would be freaking awesome. And but yeah, for the most part, just my auditioning.
There you go. Lastly, how can the listeners and the viewers find you on social media?
Oh, everything's under my name. So for those of you who speak Spanish, Maria-Elena Laas, Laas. For you guys who don't, Maria-Elena, Elena, Laas, Laas. And yeah, I'm pretty much mostly on Instagram, Facebook, just at the private page, the
Yeah,
family page, which I don't even use that much. And
yeah.
then Twitter, I go in and out. Like, and there'll be a year or two that I don't check it, and then all of a sudden I'm into it for like a month or two. So Instagram.
There you go. Maria-Elena, thank you for coming on. This was fun.
Thank you. Great to meet you. Well, thank you for having me.